Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. I had stepped in to visit our friends over at Guns Galore and I found this in their use case, and that same day one of our viewers had asked us about doing some videos on the PX4 series, so I picked it up, brought it home to do this video. I also have a PX4 full-size that we'll be doing a video on separately from this and some comparisons. Well, let's talk about this particular one that's in front of us. This is the PX4 Storm SubCompact. It's chambered in 9mm, and this definitely targets the concealed carry market. It's a DASA gun, and it does have a combination safety decocker. So let me pick it up, show clear, and talk to you a little bit about the gun itself. So we definitely have an unloaded weapon. The gun itself is very stylized. It's very ergonomic, it's comfortable to hold, has curves in all the right places, so it fits nicely in the hand. It is very, very smooth across the slide. Everything on it is smooth to make sure that you get an easy, clean draw and that it doesn't snag as it's coming out. And even the sights have a little shelf on the front so they can be used to belt cock or cock off the table. There's a little ridge at the front of it. So everything about it is targeting the concealed carry market, even though it also is large enough to be comfortable to shoot at the range. A few of the other things about it are the sights. It's a very bright 3-dot sight arrangement, so the sights are real easy to see. Both sights are replaceable. They're dovetail front, dovetail at the rear. Let's talk about the dimensions a little bit. The gun itself is 6.2 inches long. It's 4.8 inches tall, and it's 1.4 inches thick at the top and 1.2 inches thick at the bottom. And that's a little different than typical. Most guns are thinner at the slide and they get fatter at the grip. So what it does is it makes the gun visually look fatter than it is. When you look at the gun, you look at the profile of it, it just seems like a fat little thing. And really that's based on the dimensions being kind of the opposite of what you're used to. But it is comfortable to hold. I have average size hands and I can get a good grip on it. Magazine at the bottom has a little bit of a lip to it that kind of blends in and gets a place for your pinky to rest. The magazine holds 13, plus of course one in the pipe, so that you've got actually a decent capacity for a gun this size. Now it does weigh 26.1 ounces, so it's not the lightest thing out there, but there are heavier guns, so it's not exceptionally overweight. It does have a Picatinny rail with a single slot, so that you can hang lights, lasers, and whatever accessories you may want to hang off of it. And I'll show you how the safety operates. Right now, because I cycled it, the hammer is in the cocked position, so it's in the single action mode. If I were to pull down on the safety, it would go into the safe mode and at the same time decock the gun. At this point, if I tried to cock the hammer, it would just come back. So it will safely decock it. If I put it to the on position, then the first round would be double action, and if it cycled, subsequent rounds would be single action. The trigger on this came in around 9 pounds in the double action mode and 5.5 pounds in the single action mode. Now in their manual they do not recommend extended dry fire. They state that occasional dry fire is okay, but any kind of extended dry fire they indicate will likely damage the firing pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the magazine, I'm just going to pop a couple snap caps in it so that I can do some firing with it, show you the characteristics of the trigger without damaging it. So at this point I now have it in the single action mode because I've cycled it. There is a significant amount of take up on the trigger, and then you get to the back and it's actually got a very nice short crisp break, but you'll note that it breaks all the way at the back, and that did cause us a little difficulty trying to fire it well at the range. We found this gun wasn't as easy to shoot well as some others, and part of it I believe is that trigger being all the way at the back along with the slightly larger grips kind of makes it a little bit difficult to get your hands where you want it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cycle the gun so that I can have it back into single action mode. And I'll show it to you again, then I'll show you the double action. So here's the take up, and there's the very short crisp break. Now if I had it in double action mode, and I've still got a snap cap in the chamber, there's very little take up at the beginning, because of course you're going to now be pulling the gun, pulling the trigger, pulling the hammer back, It's smooth, but it's really heavy. You can feel the weight of it, and it's long. And then at the back, it very quickly and smoothly breaks. So I paused to add a couple more snap caps so I can show you the reset on this. So I fired it, so I'm going to go ahead and cycle it to get the hammer back again. So I'm going to start letting it out. And there's quite a bit of travel. It resets right there. If I let my finger off it, you notice it's almost all the way out for single action mode. So it really doesn't have a short reset. If I'm back on the wall, you have this initial take up right here, and then another travel before you actually hit the wall. And then it fires. And I'll show that to you one more time without letting it all the way out. So there's the reset. Comes back with travel before I feel resistance again, and then it fires. So it's got kind of an unusual reset. It's not a bad reset, it is rather smooth, but we did find that overall this was a little more difficult to shoot well at the range. And the other thing that we found with it as we were shooting it was that we would get the occasional flyer for no good reason. So we'd pull a decent group and then you'd have one go high left. You'd fire a few more and you'd have a nice group and one would go low right. So there may be some issues. We were using Perfecta and Blazer Brass 115 grain. This may turn out to be a gun that doesn't stabilize some ammos depending on their velocity, because you know they're not all consistent. So you definitely would want to try this with the ammo of choice that you're going to want to use to carry to make sure it's nice and consistent with it. It was fun to shoot, but it just wasn't as easy to shoot consistently. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these snap caps and show you the internals of the gun. Disassemble it. So of course, I've removed everything including the snap caps. And I'm going to go ahead and take it down. So to take it down is not difficult, it's just a little different than you're used to. Kind of grab it just pull back just a hair, and just a fraction. All I'm doing is taking tension off it. Pull down on this little, it's almost like a takedown lever, but it's not a true takedown lever in that I do have to now pull it out. So I pull it out, and there's a couple notches in it that will retain it. Let's see, there's a notch right there, and there's a little spring in there that acts as a retainment spring. So when it's turned one way, you can pull it out. When it's turned the other, that spring will block it from coming out. So it's not going to come out on you while you're firing or while you're carrying it. At that point, then, it just slides apart. So it comes apart like any other striker-fired gun, even though this one happens to be a hammer-fired gun. It kind of comes apart more like the striker guns. There you have the barrel recoil spring assembly. We pop this out. It does have a dual captive recoil spring. The barrel is a tilting barrel, stainless steel, it's flared at the end, it's a 3-inch barrel. It's well constructed, it's solid, it's kind of got like a semi-polished feed wrap. Right here it kind of looks like a mirror on camera, but if you look at it close you can see the underlying machining marks, but it's quite smooth. And we did find that this gun worked reliably throughout the entire time we had it, didn't have a single malfunction with it. It fed the Perfecta, which is kind of a low-end ammo, and it fed Blazer Brass, which is higher quality ammo, but we didn't have any trouble with it at all. This flare ostensibly would be to ensure that it locks up a little tighter to get better repeatability. The internals of it, it looks a little more like some of the other, like a Beretta Cougar or some of the others with the various notches that are found in the sides of it, but this does not have the rotating barrel that's characteristic of the larger PX4s. It's got that tilting barrel. And right here at the end of my finger is the firing pin safety. So it is a drop safe weapon. And one thing I'll note is you'll notice the safeties are on both sides. So it does have ambidextrous safeties. And they do stay up out of the way. They're up on the slide. So even if you're lefty or righty, whichever hand you're gripping it with, the safety levers don't hit your hands or get in the way. Some of them where they put it down on the frame, the ambis can be a bit of a problem for people. This one, it stays completely away from you. Now we'll talk about the frame. Of course, the frame is all polymer, with the exception of steel inserts up here for the locking block and the guides for the front, which are real thick. They're real solid. You can see right here, they're real thick and solid. Now this gun is used, and there is some wear on it from holster wear. So you can tell this gun's been carried, it's been fired, and it's been around a while, but there's little or no visible wear on the guides, either front or rear. So it's proving to be a durable gun, and Berettas are known for very high quality. So I would expect this gun to have a very long longevity if you took care of it. And so it's not something where you're going to buy this gun and then be having to deal with replacing it quickly. They designed the gun for several thousand rounds, actually probably into the 50 to 100,000 rounds before having to do anything significant with it, at least according to their site, and I would believe it from looking at it. The other thing is the magazine release is reversible, so you can flip it over, and they also have 3 different sizes available. Now the ability to flip it can be done with what comes with the gun. The sizes, if you want different sizes, you have to buy them. And it does have replaceable back straps, which is this little piece down here. But it's kind of a kludgy process. You have to pry this spring out, and then pry the old back strap loose, put the other one on, and then you may need to use a hammer to tap it into place, and then you get this spring back into place. So it's not quite as easy as some of the others. Glock, it's 1 pin. A couple of the others, you just pull a little lever and it just pops off. But you do have the ability, and the back straps do come with it. Overall, it does really appear to be a well-engineered gun, and a gun that's very likely to serve you well. Let's go ahead and put this thing back together. So just take the barrel, slide it into place, and it just drops right in. The guide rod and spring assembly. And this is very light spring, at least on the 9mm, so it's easy to pop right into place. And then we're going to slide it back onto the frame. One thing you will run into is the ejector can pop up. So you need to make sure the ejector is down, otherwise it'll hit when you go to slide the slide back on. And then just pull it back a hair, because what I'm seeing, if you're right there, it's a perfect view, you can see that the front of the barrel sticks through. And right about there clears everything so I can get this in. And what you end up doing is putting the pin in and then giving it kind of a twist as you put it in. It can be a little bit ornery to put this pin in, and eventually it will just pop right in. And what I ended up having to do is wiggle it back and forth till it cleared. There's 2 notches on it, and both those notches have to clear the spring. Gun cycles, and I don't have a snap cap in it, but I can use the decocker to decock it, and we are back in operation. The finish on this is very, very solid, nice clean finish. It's probably a very durable finish, especially considering that this gun's been carried and the only wear I'm seeing is at the very top of the front sight a little bit and a little bit on the takedown pin. Now from a size comparison, these are still snap caps. I'm just going to put the magazine back in it. As I mentioned, this one holds 13.1. I've got this Glock 26 over here. 13 plus 1, of course. I've got this Glock 26 over here. This holds 10 plus 1. So this would be another concealed carry gun that would be in the same kind of category. And I'm just going to show you this for size comparison. We're going to try to compare the 2 guns. But if I put them up side by side, line them up, you'll see that they're almost equal. In this case, the PX4 is just a hair shorter, so I'll bring the PX4 around so you can see that. PX4 is just a hair shorter, but it is taller by a significant margin. So if I bring the Glock back around the other side again, you'll see that it is significantly taller. So that extra couple rounds of capacity, extra 3 rounds of capacity you're getting, you are paying for with grip length. So if you're looking for the ultimate tiny gun, this isn't it. But it's definitely a very easy to conceal gun. This would make a good inside the waistband gun. Grip might just be a hair big, just starting to get to the edge of what would be a comfortable pocket gun. And let me turn them side by side. And you can see that when you put them side by side, get them lined up correctly, the Glock is thinner. PX4 is actually one of the thicker subcompacts that I've seen. It's not by a whole lot, but when you're dealing with, sticking it inside your waistband, putting it in a pocket, and trying to conceal it, tenths of an inches actually start to add up. But that just gives you a little bit of a comparison of some of the other, concealed carry guns that are out there. And of course, the Glock 26 is easy to find if you're looking for, to get a rough size comparison. Overall, I would recommend it from a quality perspective. Once you got used to it, you can shoot it fairly well. It would be a gun I would want to make sure that the ammo that I've chosen is an ammo that it likes. Other than that, if you're looking for a really high quality concealed carry gun, give it a consideration. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, check out Guns Galore. We'll put their contact information down in the description. They were kind enough to lend us this gun. And have a great day. Thank you.